So the NDIS has just released their list of banned items has been implemented right away. So anyone involved in the NDIS or businesses associated or NDIS participants are right now trying to figure out a lot of these things. We're Australia's largest NDIS registered fitness provider, and we do a lot of advocating in the industry for helping people with a disability. So I'm getting a lot of questions. So I wanted to make this video for anyone in the fitness industry just to try and answer those and help you work through that and understand a bit more. And I'm really big on advocating how great the fitness industry is for helping someone with a disability achieve their goals, not just fitness goals, but the independence and confidence goals and all the other benefits that exercise has there. I think we do a spectacular job, but we don't do a good enough job. And most of the disability sector has very little understanding as to how much the fitness industry can actually help. And I would love to change that. Now, this is a bit off topic to then what we're talking about here, but I do have a 1-hour webinar talking all about this, the in-depths of the NDIS for personal trainers in the fitness industry. If you have an understanding of that, everything I say here should make sense. If you haven't got that, please reach out. Happy to send it through to you. It's totally free. It's just helping personal trainers help more people with a disability. And you can do that if you understand the NDIS a little bit more. So on to this now. Of course, the media is coming out with all their great big headlines now about this stuff. And straight in the first line, we're talking about the word fitness, which is interesting because it's normally on the backbone of the fitness topic for the NDIS. And I want to talk you through what is and isn't allowed, and more importantly, how that affects the fitness industry. So we have a big, long list here. I'll just refresh this article. We have a great big long list. There's much longer lists of this and government things and so on around it. But for starters, some it's pretty obvious. It's in regards to your mortgage repayments, your rent, your car insurance. Of course, everyone has to pay that whether you have a disability or not. So our taxpayers' dollars shouldn't be chipping in for that, should they? Other things are super obvious that should never be allowed in the NDIS, such as cigarettes and vapes and so on. Other things are a little bit more debatable depending on who you are and how that affects you. But intrinsically, I don't actually see. Now, remember, I'm not the number one NDIS expert in our company. I'm just the one out there publicly the most. Hence, I get the most questions. Hence this video. And I'm certainly not the NDIS, nor am I a support coordinator or plan manager. So this is going off my experience, having been a registered provider for the last 6 years. These things have never by default been approved at all whatsoever. It's just they've never specifically black and white been banned like they are now. And so I think what it is just tightening up and cracking down on things that people are finding ways to just kind of slide through a little bit. The only one you can see here, yoga therapy, would be the closest to the fitness industry. Again, it's never said the word yoga anywhere within it. It's also never said the word yoga is banned. If you're noticing the word gym membership or gym is not listed in that, and it's not listed specifically in it, the reason for it is that's one of the few things out of all of these that was already expressly banned from the NDIS. Now, I wish that wasn't true as well, but I can appreciate why it is. The theory being, if you're physically and intellectually able to walk into a gym, pick up a dumbbell and exercise by yourself, why do you need the taxpayers' dollars to pay for that? If you can't do that and you must have a personal trainer to help you do that, then yes, the NDIS may be able to pay for that. Now, if your goal is to get buff for summer, no, the NDIS won't pay for that because disability or not, that's a lot of people's goals. If your goal is to have the actual mobility to try to not need to use your walking frame anymore or reduce how soon you're going to need to use your walking frame if your disability is progressively getting worse, then it may cover up for that. They'll probably definitely get NDIS funding for occupational therapy or exercise physiology or something. They may get it for personal training. Now, the reason why it's hard to get it, and this has never been said by the government, this is my personal opinion when I say this, is I believe our industry is seen as very non-essential. Remember, we're the we're the industry that got shut down ASAP in COVID as essentially being deemed as non-essential for the reasons we know. They assume we're all just muscle men pumping weights. And they don't realise that there's two sides to the industry. There's that side, and then there's the health and the wellness and the longevity and the side of the industry that's really just a step below allied health, really, in my opinion. But anyway, that's my opinion on it. That's why I think people struggle to get it. Now, in regards to then what's changed in this, I'll just try to find that bit I was looking at before. There we go. This is a classic thing that's always been there. This is nothing new what they're saying here. Exercise is a preventative measure. Again, odd that it's not easy to get personal training then, right? But that's how it is. So they're concerned that clients with cerebral palsy that need exercise to maintain core strength might now not be able to get the correct funding. I personally don't see that happening. We have a lot of clients with cerebral palsy specifically who train with us, and there's always been struggles with people getting enough funding for what they need. But I don't see anything in these carve-outs, as they're calling them, that expressly says that someone's going to find it harder to get that. I think it's always been possible to get a gym membership on the NDIS, always will be. Don't think they'll ever change. It's always been hard to get personal training on the NDIS. I don't think they'll ever change. It's always been easy to get core supports on the NDIS. I don't think that will change either. It's just these things that can be used for that they're cracking down on. Now, on that note as well, we talk about sort of some of the grey areas within that, and yoga is the classic one, right, with what they're saying there, and this is my made-up opinion on it, right? I'm presuming they're talking more about the spiritual side of yoga that is not scientifically proven, as opposed to so much the fitness industry side of yoga. How many personal trainers or even support workers are just yoga lovers, and they might want to put a few yoga drills or exercises into their support work or their personal training. It doesn't stop them doing that, because they're first and foremost a support worker or a personal trainer or whatever role they're in, whether with my company or anyone else's company. It doesn't stop that happening. I think where someone's going to struggle is if they're all over their website, all over their marketing, if their business name is yoga for all abilities, or Reiki for us, or Reiki's banned on it as well. And then they're trying to say, no, we're doing personal training and support work, but your business name is Reiki or crystal healing or something like that. I think that's when people are really going to struggle, because any support coordinator is going to look at that and go, you're claiming that you're doing support work, everything about you and your business says something on a banned list. Not going to happen. So that, on a side note, is literally where our Fit Your Ability name came from. As Fitness Enhancement, what we've been for 25 years, we're very inclusive. We've had clients with disabilities for 25 years. We became NDIS registered 6 years ago as Fitness Enhancement, but it's not exactly a muscle man name, Fitness Enhancement. But there was an element of a perception that we were, the fitness industry flexing it coming into it. So anything that's muscle or flex related or cosmetic related in the fitness industry, it's a big no. It just won't get through with anything. So that is literally why we have our second name, Fit Your Ability, to showcase. It just represents who we really are as a business. So I think bear in mind that, and I'm sidetracking onto what's in my 1 hour webinar, but bear in mind that when you see some of these things, because you'll see things here, shoes, for example, and this has always been the case. I just think it's a big crackdown now. You might need a specifically designed pair of shoes for your disability, or it could be orthotics or something too, right? We all know how expensive custom orthotics can be, I'm sure. But if it can be proved, probably from your occupational therapist or your podiatrist, that an off-the-shelf pair is better and cheaper, then it will still be funded. So I don't see any change in what has always been happening there within that. Now, the last one to think about before I let you go, this is talking about the NDIS broadly as a whole. It's not broadly as a whole. It's broken into all different funding categories people get. Now, this is just the NDIS website. It pretty much comes down to core supports and capacity building. Core is what you see here, basically. Capacity building is what you see down here. personal training is under capacity building, a subcategory of improved health and wellbeing. Note, here's what I mean. It's always said black and white, does not regarding gym memberships, says that and almost nothing else. And so that's where personal training is. If you don't have personal training funding, or let's say exercise physiology funding, you can't put it through on as line item. Not possible. These are the ones that people have limited amounts of, and they struggle to get more because this is my sort of layman's term way of putting it. People tend to understand. It's more about improving the quality of life. Core supports, again, my layman's terms, is more about having that basic standard of living that we all have, that we all deserve to be able to have. And so that is where the bulk of the funding is. When we became registered, were registered for personal training. We still had to turn away probably 80-90% of our potential clients who wanted to train with us because they didn't have personal training funding for the reasons discussed. They had core funding. So when we launched our Fit Your Ability name, we also went through the registrations to be registered for core supports. Here are our NDIS core supports on our website. If you go to any time, services, registration categories, you'll see them. And so intrinsically, what that means is we are a disability support company. Yes, most of our people are also qualified personal trainers, but they're first and foremost being disability support workers, and they're helping people achieve those goals around independence, confidence, strength, mobility, developing new skills, and doing both things. Things that you and I know personal trainers can all do, but the government doesn't necessarily recognise that. So having dual roles of being a support worker and a personal trainer means we can truly help so many more people. So just bear in mind when we're talking about these NDIS bands, that's just one part of it. The other part of it is the person must have the actual funding in the first place to do it. And people tend to have a lot more funding for these basic day-to-day. Now, one last note, and I will finish up. No, you can't get a gym membership, but note some of these names is the government name of these registration categories. Strangely, to me, a gym kind of does a lot of that for people, disability or not. They're group and centre-based activities, they're community centres. They're involved in, it's an innovative way to participate in the community. So it is strange within the NDIS that you can have a local community centre and the funds can help pay for the person to be at the community centre, but the gym doing the exact same thing, the funds won't pay for the person to be in the gym unless it's a support worker coming in and doing that. And so that's what we do quite a bit. We have our support workers go into the gym, they're engaging in the community, they're being a part of it, and we are there as a support worker, and we can use a gym as a community centre around that. And that lets us get so many more people an introduction to exercising and helping the disability sector see that we are truly inclusive fitness industry, or at least parts of our industry are, I should say. And yeah, that's great. It's all about understanding some of those intricacies around the NDIS. So that covers that. Again, if a lot of that's going over your head, please reach out, ask for that webinar I've made. If you are going, I'd love to be a part of NDIS, I have no idea, talk to us about coming on board with us. We have opportunities for people to work for us, and we have opportunities for people to bring their personal training business under us. Jump onto our site. You'll be on this right now. If you're watching this video, click that careers button or the link on the page, find out that. And yeah, we're pretty proud to be awarded one of the best in the industry. And yeah, if you'd love to be a part of us, reach out. Either way, though, we look forward to all of us, no matter which brand we're a part of, helping to make our industry even more inclusive for all. See ya.